Clap test.
Yeah, we'll do our next clap test.
1, 2, 3. Okay. Whenever you're ready. You want me to bring it in?
Yeah, you bring it in this one.
All right. Welcome back to the From Roses to Apples podcast.
Welcome.
Welcome back, man. We are so excited to bring this episode to you, man. Applause. You got what I'm saying? You got what I'm saying? Everyone in the stands. Applause.
Yeah, I know. I can't believe we got that so soon. Yeah, it's crazy the light didn't go on and they did that, but we'll talk. We'll talk to producers later.
Yeah. But what's our topic for this podcast session? Wells,
This session is going to be yeah. Oh, I think we should just be transparent about this.
The session thing?
Yeah, we're going to have sessions. I don't want to have the podcast like pressure to have guests on. Like it's just we literally are sitting here talking.
That's a fact. I think we kind of do better when it's more of us just talking about our personal experiences than trying to bring in someone else to our right now anyway.
Yeah.
To bring someone else into this compare and contrast, because I think it's more important that for this first season at least we hear our perspectives.
Yeah. And also it's like we've had a couple guests. We've shot some episodes with guests. And I don't know if I know how to interview people just yet. So they didn't go as smooth and they didn't feel good. Like, you know, when you're watching a podcast or like an interview with anyone and the energy's off, that makes me uncomfortable if I'm consuming that from the outside, like just from my phone. So I think to prevent that as much as possible, creating it just to be sessions. And our YouTube videos will be compare and contrast, like them sitting down a bit more intense. Like, you know, AMP.
Yeah, I love AMP too.
I love the lighting. I love the table that they're sitting at. I haven't really watched any videos. I've just seen the thumbnails, and I think that's kind of like ignorant of me to say. But I fuck with what so stuff like that. That's kind of what I foresee.
I'm actually a big fan of AMP, and AMP is kind of the group that kind of made me start pitching this idea to you and Nicole.
Holy shit, that's funny.
So it's crazy that you brought them up.
Okay. No, yeah, that is cool. So that's kind of our idea for YouTube. But this session, or just this, Rits and I are going to talk about substance abuse today. And we're going to compare and contrast, obviously, coast to coast. But it's kind of hard. It's hard because we kind of speak for everyone, or I tend to speak for everyone when we're saying coast to coast, doing compare and contrast. So it's more about like mindsets.
Yeah.
West mindset against East mindset when it comes to substance abuse, when it comes to okayness, when it comes to when we did it as kids, all that stuff.
And Wells has a more of a how do you say it, perspective of Portland in general, just like I have a more perspective of New York in general. That's why the podcast name is the name of the podcast, From Roses to Apples.
And there's mindsets that come with that. And so without us, I don't think we were able to totally articulate that, but there's something so tangible between the West mindset and the New York mind and like the East Coast mindset. I think New York is so special in itself. Mm-hmm. It's a pretty different mindset. But yeah, anyways.
It's pretty fucking cool too, Wells.
Yeah, no, it's cool. And it has cool people and cool mindsets. And I think just to compare, obviously when you come to like the more intense stuff like workforce and attitude and perseverance and all that, it's hard to like vouch because I do want to chill. I innately want to chill because that's what the West Coast was. That's what I grew up with. You want to get to the place to chill. So it's like you work harder.
But let's get into the topic of this episode and the reasoning for the topic of this episode. I don't want to make it about myself, but the reason we came upon this topic is because I am actually going sober. You've seen in the last podcast that I was smoking and drinking and this, that, and the third, and I have made the decision in the past week to go fully sober, no weed, no liquor, or anything else. Thank you.
Right.
Okay. You know with that being said, though, I don't want to make it sound like I'm never gonna drink or smoke again. You know what I'm saying? Like my girl's birthday is coming up. I might have a drink for that. You know what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? Like,
I'll probably as well.
If you catch me on Instagram while drinking a beer, If you catch me on Instagram having a little fucking drink, don't fucking execute me, okay?
Hey, I went through something like that where I posted on Instagram I was going sober, and after I was just not sober after the 6 months, people caught on.
Yeah, and you know, and it's more of a thing where I just want to clear my mind more. Like I want to get I have a clear mind coming in
Whoa.
to this podcast, and I feel even right now I'm like probably like about 16 hours. So,
But it's probably so much clearer.
Yeah, and I feel it even being on this podcast. I feel
So
it.
make it about yourself. Let's talk.
Yeah,
Talk
we're
to me
gonna
about substance abuse.
well, let's get into both of us how we got into smoking weed and drinking alcohol.
Yeah, how old are you?
I was the first time I ever did it, both weed and alcohol. I was 12, like to get drunk.
Damn.
Like to get drunk and to get high. You get what I'm saying?
Okay.
Oh.
What was like the culture around it?
Well, I grew up seeing, you get what I'm saying, my mom drink, my dad drink, my uncle. My uncle was kind of like the sober one out the family, but I also seen in my household, I grew up with my mom, so I seen drugs, weed, harder drugs and stuff like that, and while I was in my upbringing. So once I got to middle school when I was like 12 years old, when I first started actually experimenting, whatever the case may be, it was more of a thing where it was like, oh, this is what you do when you get older.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Like it wasn't like a thing where I wasn't even trying to be cool really or nothing,
Or rebellion.
or
like,
rebellious or nothing. It was we had this conversation when in New York before. When you grow up, you kind of grow up quick.
yeah.
So when it gets to middle school, you're already kind of wanting to be older than what you are.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So once we got to middle school and I seen other kids, you get what I'm saying, and we're all trying to experiment right now because we all have that same mindset. It was kind of a thing. Oh, okay, I'm older now.
Yeah, like grown.
Let
yeah.
me get into this thing. I'm gonna.
Sixth grade. I'm grown.
That's how it was.
Put some respect on my name. Yeah.
That's how the mindset of that. That's how about you, Will?
Yeah. Dude, I think going into my freshman year, I smoked for the first time. That was sick. I think.
That wasn't too far off from me though.
No,
That was like
12
what?
and 14. Yeah, no,
Eighth
not too
grade
bad.
summer.
12, 13. No, like, yeah, I don't really know because I was definitely like deeper in middle school. 12 is, also like what, 8th, 7th.
The first time I smoked was like the first time I actually smoked was sixth grade summer. But
What was the first thing you smoked?
like papers wise.
No, first thing. Like, did you smoke like an L?
No, I smoked a cigarette actually.
First
That was the
thing,
first thing I smoked was a cigarette.
And then you like smoked an L with Fronto, Graba. Like, what was the
Should
whole?
I tell the story?
Yeah, dude.
Okay, all right. So at this point in time, it was probably 7th grade, the beginning of 7th grade, because the beginning of 7th grade, me and my friend Jonathan, shout out to Jonathan, we fucking basically we started smoking cigarettes. We started smoking cigarettes. We would buy a pack and just cheap them.
What kind?
Anything we could get our hands on, kind of thing.
If a bodega would sell it.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like whatever we was able to get our hands on, like. So it was.
Can we just get some cigarettes?
Yeah,
They're like,
that's how that conversation probably went. I forgot, but that's probably how that went.
one box of cigarettes, please.
He's just looking at us like, what?
I got 20 on deck.
But so we would just fucking smoke cigarettes. So we basically we would go to the park every day before school and fucking like smoke cigarettes. You get what I'm saying? So then it wound up being one day where we was doing that. We was in the park smoking the cigarettes, siphoning the cigarettes.
Like sharing it?
Yeah.
Yep.
Like siphoning the cigarettes and shit. And just so happened to be high school kids in the park rolling up. You get what I'm saying? So they fucking like, they didn't have a lighter. And they saw us smoking the cigarette, you get what I'm saying? So they called us over and fucking wound up like, yo, could I get a lighter?
Yeah.
But while they was lighting the fucking thing, they're like, yo, y'all ever get high? Blah, blah, blah. This, that, and the third. And we was like, nah. He was like, You want to? So then my bro Jonathan, fucking basically looked at each other and we both kind of like shook our head like, yeah, like.
Hell yes.
Yeah. So going into the fucking thing of us growing up, trying to be grown ups, whatever. We see a bunch of high school kids offering us to smoke weed. Once again, this is what grown people do. You got you got what I'm saying? So now we take those couple. We probably took maybe 3 hits each. You got what I'm saying? Fucking coughed up a lung, spit the size of a puddle beside us.
Yep.
You got what I'm saying? But the crazy part about that day was we went into school, and every year in our school, we used to have, one day out the year, we used to have an assembly where this fucking police officer used to come in to the shit and talk to us about drugs and this, that, this, that, and the third. So we walk into the shit, and we see the cop there, so we're in our heads like, fuck.
Like, we're cooked.
Yeah, we're done. Like, so we get to the assembly, everyone's fucking staring at us, you know what I'm saying, making shit hot. The fucking cops there talking about drugs, so we wound up getting snitched out.
No way.
Yeah, so we wound up getting snitched out because it was just, the kids around us was just making it hot. Because remember, there was other kids in the park with us, but we were the only ones smoking, you know what I'm saying, doing the thing. So we wound up getting snitched out. That us getting snitched out kind of prevented us, like it kind of like scared us to smoke.
Yeah.
For like another year.
Yeah.
So after that first time I smoked, I didn't smoke again for like another year. That's why I say when I first started smoking, I was 12. You get what I'm saying? But I the first time I actually did it, I was actually a little bit younger than 12. I was probably like 11-ish. Just turned 11. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Dude, I have a crazy story. First time that I got caught with weed, I'm like, so I first started smoking weed 8th grade summer, like we'll say it in there. I'm seeing someone my freshman year. She's older than me. She has a car, so we're whipping, and I'm severely into kush at that point, like very much into marijuana. But this summer, going into 8th grade, I got in trouble in Salem. I'm kind of going in like really early to this story. Okay. The worst time I've ever been caught is not anything to do with the first time I smoked weed, but this is still worth it. So this girl and I were sitting downstairs after smoking weed like all day. I have probably 10 grams in her car in a Beats like case. You know the thing that zips?
Yeah.
Fire. Her mom, as we're under the blanket and my pants aren't on, her mom comes downstairs and we kind of like follow procedure because if her mom comes downstairs, obviously it's like just put the blanket over. And we put the blanket over, and her mom is holding the Beats pill case.
Oh man,
Bro, and I have never gone more flaccid in my life, nor have I seen the blood drain from my face faster with not a sexual connotation. Like, it was crazy. And she was like, whose is this? Like, Wells has to go. My pants are at my ankles, by the way. She's like, Wells has to get up and go right now. Like, you got to drive him home. And the person I'm seeing at the time was like, Mom, please, no, please don't. Like, you know, he can't go right now. Like, let us just talk for a little bit. She's like, okay, but she's like, Wells, you have to tell your parents or I will. And I had just come back from a summer of getting in trouble in Salem for kush, for partying, for doing some just like not good shit. Like when going into a house that wasn't our house, like that kind of thing. Yeah. So my parents were already kind of on me. They were drug testing me, looking for lighters, and I was doing this entirely secret, like just so under the radar. So this was just fucked. Like at this point, this was fucked. So I was like, damn, I got to tell my parents. Like, I guess I will. And but anyways, we buy time. She goes upstairs, and I don't think my pants went up like in any other scenario faster in my life. Like, dude, I was just like, there I am, belt done. I'm still like pale in the face, just fucking freaking out. So I tell my parents. My parents are like, okay, like let's drug test you. Like, no. We're really disappointed, but thank you for telling us. Like, no. And I was like, okay, whatever. Actually, I played it off fucked. Dude, so like they were cool about the situation, not because of anything that I had said cool. It was literally like, oh, this is my homies, and I was holding it and like, no. And so like they believed it. And then 2 weeks later, I shit you not, people started getting suspended in my school. 20 kids all of a sudden suspended. We're like, what the fuck is going on? Okay. This was in 2 days. 2 days, 20 kids get suspended from my freshman class. We're like, what's going on? And the main drug dealer that we buy, obviously like no names, but this kid apparently got snitched earlier in the week. 2 kids were smoking behind our bleachers. Someone from the road saw, called the security. Those 2 kids cracked under pressure, snitched this kid out. But the kid who was selling us drugs never deleted text message.
So they seen every person that
Printed out every person's text.
crazy, bro.
So we're just like shitting our pants. Week two goes by. There's about 26 kids who get suspended. So they're like going slowly now, and we're just freaking out. That was probably the most stressful month of my life. Mm-hmm. 3rd week comes. My friend Michael gets called into the office, like my close friend. He's who I used to smoke with, but he doesn't smoke anymore. He texted Carson about pills, but as a joke from a song. So they printed out this document of literally like I think it was like a pills and palm trees or something silly. Like, and so Michael's reading this, just like laughing to himself so hard because they're like trying to get him, but he's sober and he really wasn't. But he saw my name next. Mm-hmm. He runs from the office and he comes and he tells me, he's like, Wells, dude, you're next. I had stems. I had like all this weed. I had this huge gallon bag of like just all the extra crumbs from the weekend. I think it was a Monday. And I like got up so fast, threw it all away. And dude, 5 minutes later, this guy comes in and is like, hey, is there a Grant Wellington here? And I'm like, oh.
I don't think so.
I've never heard that name. And he's like, and my teacher's like, what, like Wellington Grant? He's like, oh yeah, probably. And I'm like, and so I go up to the office with them, and they hand me these transcripts. Yo, they dead ass put on the table these printed out, colored pages of like iPhone 4 message, like phone. And it's like, yo, give me an eighth. Yo, give me an eighth. I need an ounce. Yo, I need an ounce. I think I was his best customer. I was constantly with him. And what they were trying to do and how they suspended kids was if you did it on campus, if they could prove that you had it on campus, and there were multiple times I did, multiple times. He sold me my first sack on campus. I had it in my bag, and everyone was like, yo, you're loud as shit. And I like wasn't thinking about it because it's like, whatever. Like, that's dumb as fuck that I wasn't thinking about it. But where is this story? Where is this part of the story going? Anyways, the transcripts, yeah. So they're basically, they're like, can you prove how you get to school? And I was like, well, I take the bus because I didn't want to incriminate the girl who was giving me rides. And they were like, okay, what time does your bus get there? I was like, fuck, I don't know, like 8:14 normally. And I had sent a text to Carson at 7:45 or something a.m. And they were like, you have a margin of like 50 minutes as to why we're not suspending you.
Wow.
I was like, holy shit. I was like, thank you so much. And like, if you can tell us anything more that you know. And I was like, I'm just so glad I'm not in trouble. See ya.
So why would I do that?
So yeah, and then the kids the 4 kids got expelled, and it ended up 30 students in total got suspended.
That's fucking crazy.
It was crazy. It was like one of the biggest drug busts my freshman year. All for weed.
Drug bust.
Dude, I know, right? And then
drug bust is outrageous.
and I actually didn't smoke weed until my senior year until then.
Yeah?
Because that really just scared me straight. My parents had me on lockdown for 8 months, drug tested me, took everything from me. Like after that, when I got called that I was sent to the principal's office for buying, because they gave them everything. They gave my parents all the texts. They're like, if we can't get him in trouble, they will.
How did they get the text?
I don't know. I think because his phone was unlocked. That was first and foremost.
They only had his phone. They had his phone.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I get it.
They can take it if you're like.
I was like, damn, they got fucking transcripts of 30 people's text messages.
It was crazy. It was so bad. It was. I think it was 34 in total people. Obviously, the 4
No, but I thought they got every individual transcript of everyone.
Oh yeah, we're all getting our phone.
I was like, damn. So
because we delete our messages. Like our parents don't want to see it, but for some reason he didn't, or his phone was old or something. He had some excuse. Mm-hmm. The 2 kids who snitched just never, ever, ever were talked to the same again. It was just like it wiped out the entire class of people, and so you'd go. The tables would be empty, like people. It just like all the kids you knew that were bad came back to school at the same time. So if you hung out with them, the security guards looked at you. So I was like, fuck it, I'm not getting in any more trouble, and that's when I became my full-fledged church boy.
So I think we should start getting into how this relates to us with substance abuse.
Yes, my itch to go towards that was a part of it.
Yeah. So with me specifically, I think I definitely had a substance abuse problem all through my teen years.
Yeah, same.
You know what I'm saying? I when I got big on weed.
Yeah, just through my teens.
You said once I got to my 20s, it was
Over.
gone.
No. At that point, it was addiction, and I was relying. No, I was kidding. Just kidding. Not kidding. But
I don't think it's so much where, with me, it's it was affecting me in a way where I couldn't function. Or nothing like that, because people will tell me right now that even right now that I'm quitting weed and drinking and all that, they'll tell me that I could still work at a high level. They see me do it, they don't understand why, and it's not really so much for that. I just know for a fact that I work better when I'm sober.
yeah, and you don't want to have to be working so fucking hard all the time.
Yeah, and it's like I could see that it's night and day with me. Like when my mind's cloudy, when I'm off weed, like there's even situations where I've been off weed where it's like I give up on a good thing because I'm high and lazy.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Mm.
And instead of fucking fighting through it, or you get what I'm saying, or just working, or just figuring out what my mistake was, or whatever.
Yeah, it makes me like so shy to complete stuff and complete stuff well.
Mm-hmm,
I feel, even editing, it's like it really does take a certain level of like, in patience. And if I wasn't like high as fuck while I was doing it, I'd probably have more of the patience and more of the detail and like.
I have no patience when I'm high.
But at the same time, obviously, if I'm doing it right and rationally and not with this like severe need to, it would be different. But this constant state of fog, I'm not high no more. I'm just I'm getting back to the fog that feels safe, that feels like chill. And I have to like talk to myself about that, and that's where it's like obviously like I know it's psychological.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like I'm curious about that side for you. Like what part do you think is mental? Like do you think you're running from things? Do you think you're being avoidant, or do you think you're just kind of like doing it because it was routine?
Well, when I first started weed, I'll say that, like I said before, it was more of a thing where I felt like it was gonna happen regardless.
Yeah. Okay.
So experimenting now would prepare me. You know what I'm saying?
Whereas weed for me was a rebellion. My parents didn't smoke.
Yeah. It was like more of a thing where it was like, I know 9 times out of 10 I'm gonna wind up smoking weed when I'm older. So, but it went from that to like what you said. I started. This goes into the laziness, because this is where I kind of got that habit from, where it was like, oh, whenever I would get angry or whenever I would get upset or frustrated about something, I would go smoke weed.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I would go
same.
get high. And I started noticing that in high school. No funny shit. I noticed that about myself in high school. Like, yo, like, I gotta chill, blah, blah, blah. But I never really took the step to do that, and especially in high school and all that. I never really took a step to kind of like get away from it. And it had a big thing too. Like I used to, I used to be the weed man in high school. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I used to have fucking, and this is when it was illegal in New York, but I used to have like 3 pounds on me in my book bag walking into school. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I'm about to bleep out the pounds in the edit. Oh, fuck. I'm going to have to bleep mine, too.
But fucking, like, yeah.
Ain't no incrimination.
Fuck that.
Is it statute limitations, or is that just not?
It's definitely 7 years I've been out of high school. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, that's valid.
But fucking, but then it turned into, like what you said. I think I went through all 3 stages, because then, exactly what you said too, it became kind of routine.
Yeah.
I woke up, first thing I did, smoke a blunt. You know what I'm saying? I go to sleep. Right before I go to sleep, I smoke a blunt. I'm going out to eat. Oh, before I go out to eat, I have to stop and roll up this blunt real quick, bro. You got what I'm saying? You got what I'm saying? So it wound up becoming routine for me.
And a fucking problem if you're not if like the people around you aren't smoking.
Yeah, you got what I'm saying? And also it became a problem because now I realized in order for me to do anything, I had to smoke weed.
Okay. Yeah.
Plus with that, I know smoking weed makes me work at a lower level than I want to.
And honestly, like yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So for the last, I would say like 2-3 years, I was in that fight where it was like, oh yeah, I'm not gonna do it unless I smoke weed, but I know I'm gonna do it in a worse way because I smoked weed. Like you got what I'm saying? And it was like a battle with me. So then I tried to start smoking weed only at night when I was finished with everything.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But it wasn't working out for me because like I'll go that whole one day without smoking, smoke that night, wake up high, wanting to smoke.
Of course.
You got what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's like the lethal part I noticed is if I'm like, okay, I really want to not smoke today when I was quitting. So like I went sober for 6 months. I don't know if I touched on that yet, but like I came out of that. And like I'll preface, don't go sober off ultimatums.
Yeah,
Don't cut stuff out of your life and address your substance abuse just because of wanting to please people or because someone threatens to leave. I'm like in a time in my life right now where I have a partner who has no pressure towards me in it, and I'm actually like obviously wanting to do the same thing. Like to be honest with myself and able to have that conversation without the pressure. I do desire being clear-minded and present and able to interact with anyone, not overtly tired. Like weed has such negative connotations for me, but I like satiate over it. Obviously there's excuses I can give, but when someone's here being like, oh my God, all you're doing is smoking weed, like I'm going to smoke more fucking weed.
Yeah.
If someone's like, oh my God, all you do is drink, I'm going to drink fucking more. It's like, there's certain reasons and there's certain times for it and there's certain things that can be comfortable with it. And so stopping weed with this intensity and these claws in me from myself, from the people around me, made it almost impossible. And the relapse was kind of brutal. Mm-hmm. Like, not brutal, but it's like, do you know what I mean? I start drinking more, I start smoking so much more just to compensate and to dive back in. And I mean, even now in these podcasts, losing trains of thought.
And I think that was a big realization for me too, watching podcasts of myself and watching myself on camera and watching myself on the mic and seeing that, the things that I've been thinking for these last 2-3 years are actual reality because I could see myself actually
fucking doing this.
Doing a less good job than I know I could do. You get what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. And so it's like we got to work for it.
Yeah, so it's like, and I got tired of me just saying, yeah, next week is my last week. Next week is my last week. Next week is my last week. So I really thought to myself last night, like, I'm not smoking no more. Like, I got the urge to smoke. I was about to roll up, and I was like, nah, fuck it. You get what I'm saying? I'm not gonna roll up. I'm not gonna grab this beer. I'm not gonna do none of that shit. You know what I'm saying? Because I genuinely feel if you keep putting it on to next week, the substance abuse or addiction or whatever you want to call it will override you within that week.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, but at this point, the unfortunate thing is we can abuse substances, but as soon as there's a dependency, that's when it's an addiction. And so obviously, like in our early stages, we were definitely abusing substances, partying or smoking or whatever we did from both sides. And that was definitely substance abuse, getting too fucked up, throwing up, blacking out, stuff like that. That's definite substance abuse. But then substance dependency ties in with addiction, and that is actually like in a psychological book called the DSM-5 TR and it's an actual like diagnosis.
And I
which
think
is
I think right now I still am depend. I was kind of dependent on weed.
and that's okay to admit. And I think it's so scary to go into a psychiatrist and be like, hey, I depend on this, because you get put and labeled into like a number system. And so it's sometimes so much more severe, but you're in the same category as someone who has heroin and it's just marijuana for you. And so now it's more specified. There's a nicotine addiction whole ass category that was created. There's a marijuana category and alcoholism. And so there is certain specifications. But we are dealing with addiction, period. Maybe it's our addictive personality. Maybe it's like us just fiending to escape, because I think that's what weed showed me. When I first smoked weed, bro, or like the first time I got high wasn't the first time I smoked. It was like 6 or 7 times after. The first time I got high, I was sitting in front of a fire, and it was just like, holy shit, like I get why people do this.
Mm-hmm.
This feels crazy. There's something different than what I've been feeling the whole time.
Yeah.
Me not dissecting what I was actually feeling, obviously I'm going to choose the latter, and I feel like we've been choosing the latter for so long that it's been this dependency. But I think we should talk about that, where it's like, do you feel the trauma in your life caused you to smoke, to drink, to get into certain things that you did to maybe numb, or like, because I don't really feel like I was numbing my pain by smoking. I was just like, I guess, escapism.
I don't think I don't think my pain or whatever influenced me to get into it. But once I was already into it, it definitely
Helped.
it fueled the fire to keep going. Like,
Okay.
you know what I'm saying?
So when harder things would happen, you
Yeah,
notice yourself
it was
smoking.
like, oh,
and
I'm
you're
gonna go smoke. Like, you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? I'm gonna go smoke.
Yeah.
I'm gonna feel a little better. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I started realizing that too. You know what I'm saying?
You're like, oh shit, I am in this pattern. Yeah. I think the routine's pretty killer, especially with weed.
Yeah, and weed, I will genuinely say to the audience that I'm still like, I feel like it's not like I have the shakes or nothing. Like, I'm not just like, you know what I'm saying. But I was definitely addicted to weed. I think I still am addicted to weed.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna
And
take like 2 weeks.
yeah, you know what I'm saying.
The first 3 days suck.
Yeah, it sucks right. Trust me.
Cottage cheese skin.
It sucks ass right now. But fucking like with the alcohol, I think it's more of a thing. I don't like myself when I'm drunk. I'm not gonna lie.
Like angry.
Yeah, I tend to get angry. I tend to get I tend to think more about the things that pain me, like that give
same.
me pain. You get what I'm saying?
Same.
And I hate that. And I've never been a big drinker. I don't think I'm addicted to alcohol. I don't think I'm an alcoholic or nothing like that. But I know when I do drink, I don't have no chill. You know what I'm saying? So I am going to get fucked up, and
Like you can't stop. I see you. Yeah, I see that. Okay. And obviously a doctor's gonna sit there and be like, this is clinical alcoholism, but it's no. And that's the hard part.
You know me, I could go weeks without drinking.
Yeah.
I could go easily.
Absolutely. And that's where I know it's addiction. And that's what's hard, is like we have an umbrella, and so we sit in certain categories that we get to select, and that's what's cool now about psychology, about like diagnosis, is it's a little bit more personalized. It's like a little bit more for us, because we're not sitting any longer under the same doctoral connotation of a heroin user. But to like to society, it definitely makes sense why people are like, oh, addiction, like you're just choose not to. And I think that's the other conversation. Like when you hear someone say, just choose not to, how do you feel about that? What is your take? Especially when it's like, you're the one, like we're smoking.
I do think there is a certain level of discipline you have to have. And I do think there's a certain level of blame you have to put on yourself. Just like I'm doing right now. Like I'm not going to, Wells is drinking a beer right next to me. I'm not going to him and saying, yo, fuck you. You know what I'm trying to do and this, that, and you know what I'm saying?
And some people could see it like that.
Yeah.
But we had the conversation before because we're good enough fucking friends.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, anyways.
And there are certain people that, like you said, have addiction to the point where they can't even see it.
Okay, yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, that's even more lethal.
Like I said, there's discipline. If that's the case, then don't put yourself around those situations. And I think that's where discipline comes into play. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're gonna sit here and fucking say, "Oh, I'm trying to be sober. I'm trying to be sober," but then you go to your friend's house that you know is a pothead and has 6 potheads around him at all time,
And you start fiending.
you put yourself in that situation.
Mm-hmm. And like
You know what I'm
a big
saying?
part of my recovery, so like during that 6 months while I was doing that, I took it really seriously. I was drinking though, like it was mainly to get away from weed. But I at the very end of the 6 months, or I guess 4 months in, I went over to Carlos's crib, and Maya smokes, and it was the first time that I'd been around weed since I stopped, around a bong, around all that stuff, and it was like so manageable, and it was a good test. And I know that because of my satiation, if I'm around weed, it's super hard for me to not like want to not think about it and not kind of like dive back into that comfortable shell that weed creates for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the main reason I would want to stop. And while those 6 months happened under someone basically being like, you have to do, not have to do it, just basically like, I'm going to go if you don't. And I didn't want to lose them, you know? And so it's like, I did it, and I put myself in it, and I learned so much. I learned I can do it. I learned that it's not something that is impossible. But avoiding this cottage cheese skin and the wanting to throw up constantly is definitely on my mind. It's like it's so much what deters what I want to do when it comes to like the day by day, because I'm smoking, and if I decided not to, I'd be just like fucking sick.
Mm-hmm.
And so now it's definitely an addiction. It's definitely gross. And I'm saying all this because I really don't give a fuck about how people judge it. This is my little thing. You're handling yours different. I'm actually proud as fuck and pretty inspired of that, by the way. Like, we got to give a little bit of a...
Hey, man, we only a couple hours in, bro.
Still, bro, it's a huge choice to make. And I think being aware of it is cool. Not being aware of it, I think, is pretty scary.
And I think I think that happens to a lot of people where they get into that dependency stage, and they just don't know that they're dependent on it. Like they just sit here and feel like, oh yeah, I could quit tomorrow. And in reality, it's like, bro, it's harder than you think. Like, you know what I'm saying?
There's a lot of excuses.
Yeah,
It's not heroin, like I was saying.
it's. I had a bunch of excuses for years. You know what I'm saying? For years, why I wasn't quitting weed.
If weed is keeping you away from heroin, don't do drugs. Period. Just period, stay away from it.
And like when I really started realizing that there are people that have this like, if you see it, you're gonna do it type of mentality. Is one of my best friends. I'm not gonna say his name because I don't wanna like put his business out here. Maybe we'll have his family on one day and we'll let his family say the story, but or say his name. But one of my best friends growing up, you know what I'm saying, he got into hard drugs. I'm not gonna say which one, but fucking he wound up going to rehab, and he got clean.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying? He got clean, and he came home clean. A week or two after he came home, and this is my stupid mindset too, of not realizing how serious addiction is. I'm thinking, oh, he's better for that one thing, but he could still smoke weed, he could still drink, he could still this, he could still that. You get what I'm saying? So it wasn't like, and I do blame myself for a big part of this. You know what I'm saying? Just for the simple fact that I was there. But we were happy that he came home. And he was jacking that. Yeah, I'm just off that. I'm not doing that no more. But I'm drinking and I'm smoking. Like, so, and as kids growing up, we felt like weed was fine, liquor's fine. So we wound, like 2 weeks after he came home, we wound up going to a bar with him. And that decision I made right there to do that is one of the biggest regrets I will live with for the rest of my life. We wound up going to the bar, whatever the case may be. We were smoking a little bit too, and like I wound up leaving early. He was still with one of this other person that we used to chill with. We don't fuck with him anymore because of this situation, but I'm not gonna get into that. But long story short, I wound up leaving to go chill with a female. And within that time when I left, my one of my the person that we was with, not my friend that passed away, but the person we was with, he had some cocaine, and he wound up giving my friend that passed away a couple bumps. That wasn't my friend's choice of drug. You got what I'm saying? My friend's choice of drug. I'm gonna just say the choice of drug. It was heroin. It was dope. You got what I'm saying? So him taking that bump wasn't what made him die, but because he took that bump, he got the itch to do dope. So literally right after that, he went to his plug, copped some dope, went to I guess he did whatever he did with it, went to the bathroom in his house, wound up going home to take a shower, fucking went to the bathroom in his house. I guess he did one more bump of the dope, and fucking his sister found him in the bathroom dead. Overdose right then and there. You get what I'm saying? And that moment right there made me realize how serious addiction was. And how hard it is to be in the same place that you was at when you were addicted. And how easy it is to relapse when you're put in that situation. And it just fucking sucks, man. It really does.
Yeah, dude, I can't even imagine that. But at the same time, I think everyone can recognize, dude, not knowing any better is probably the biggest plague of being a kid. And like you wearing it for the rest of your life and like feeling heavy on it is so fucking understandable. But that was his disease.
Yep. Yeah.
And but man, that's just like, I mean, a perfect fucking story. I've not been around something like that or had someone close to me.
Mm-hmm. And that was the moment when I realized that was the first time I got the thought of one day I want to go sober. Yeah. Completely. And I was never on hard drugs like how my friend was, but I did have my times where I was off like pills and shit like that, and I had a little problem with them. And when I tell you that moment right there, that was one of my best friends. He was the one that was supposed to fucking take us all out the hood. You know what I'm saying? He had scholarships for days, smart ass kid. You know what I'm saying? And he just got a part of this world that fucking destroyed him. That fucking just fucking destroyed him. And then once that happened, I really had to sit back and think of like, son, is this cloudiness of me just feeling better for fucking a couple hours, or you know what I'm saying? Is that worth it? Is that worth putting the pain I felt from losing my friend onto all my family and friends? You know what I'm saying? And it opened my fucking eyes, bro. Like seriously. And I know he's looking down on me right now like I'm a fucking dickhead for waiting this long to actually take that step when I had this thought years ago. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. I think we just need a little bit of time for him.
Yeah. Let's take a moment for my brother. Take a moment for my brother real quick.
But I think at the same time, man, that realization is like going to be morbidly helpful in your own battle with it. But dude, the worst that I've heard when it comes to heroin is like I would do these trips to a women's shelter with my church, and people would come up and be like, yeah, I've been addicted, I'm out, I'm clean now, no, it's cool. And then on TV you always hear about like people doing too much or like giving themselves stuff that they don't expect, and like to hear that is close to home, man. There's a little bit more of an understanding of why this lighter stuff became a problem and not the heavier stuff. Yeah. Because this stuff does still, like, I don't know, depending on like I think I'm just fishing for words right now. It just kind of breaks my heart that you had to go through that and that he was hurt enough to put himself in that situation and or like to have to like escape. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I think too, like there's a way to kind of like you kind of I don't know. Continue. I don't.
Well, what do you mean? Like there's a way to kind of what like counteract it or work on it or work with it. You think?
I think that when you no, that's not what I'm saying. This part is gonna get edited out. I gotta remember.
No, it's cool.
I
Okay.
remember what I was gonna say. Yeah. Fucking like you gotta remember too when it starts getting to these harder drugs. Like I'm talking to the viewers out there, someone that might be fucking experimenting with these harder type of drugs, whatever, and these put up your nose type of fucking drugs. My brother did. My bro did dope, whatever the case may be. But when he died, there was zero amount of heroin in his system. It was 100% fentanyl. 100% fentanyl in his system. You get what I'm saying? You never know with these drugs. Like,
Stop fucking snorting
yeah,
stuff.
stop it, bro.
God
Like,
damn.
and they all look the same, bro. Like,
All of them.
you will never know. You will never know until someone finds you.
Just be a good fucking girl or boy
Yeah.
and fight your demons with your weed. You might be anxious. You might be confronting yourself. Oh, well, fuck. Like, do that if you're so eager to put something up your nose. Find a different direction to feel something different, bro. Like, don't risk yourself. Don't risk your family. Don't risk your, like, goddamn friends no more. Like, come on. It just... And this is where it's so controversial for me to even say something like that, because I've had an addiction that has very much impacted the people around me. My partners in the past, my levels of anger, my displays, my confusion, my paranoia, all this stuff is what led me to stop in the first place, but also caused that person to like want to go away. And if I could narrow all those things down back to weed and point my finger at a substance, that was easy. So like, right, I point my finger and I cut it out, but I realized those things are embedded deeply in me. Control issues, anger issues, jealousy issues, why I was paranoid, stuff like that. And it was at the time like I wasn't being faithful. The consequence to paranoia is not being faithful. Like the consequence to jealousy is also the same thing. But it's like I was just genuinely like hiding from where I was, and I realized that. But weed only had me not looking in the direction of what it was.
Mm.
It wasn't the fucking reason those things were there. And that's the biggest mistake I think this process is of addiction, which is like, and why I keep saying it's not about alcohol, it's not about weed. It is genuinely about our genetic makeup, our like how we rock, how we run, where we tend to go, and honestly, how selfishly avoidant we can be. I'm a selfish person at times, man. I made some dumb ass selfish choices, and like in reflecting on that, it's easier to choke down if I'm smoking or if I'm drinking, whatever. Because the guilt, whatever. But once I face that, obviously the forgiveness is what comes, and I know that, and I think prolonging that is weird. It's like I went through the 6 months of forgiving myself, and then I kind of dove back into weed because I felt like I had forgiven me.
Mm-hmm.
And then the same shit reoccurred because you slip back into old patterns, and if you're not aware of it constantly, which the weed does, you'll revert subconsciously to being kind of a dick. So like that's what I battle, and it doesn't really have anything to do with how much weed I smoke or beer I drink. It's really about the amount of like attention and care I'm giving to like what I actually fucking feel.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, I'm pissed off right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's maybe I'm heightened because I'm on alcohol, but like what made me mad? What am I protecting? Why am I irritable? Shit like that. And it's like it really has worked for me. So it's like me doing that before I cut it all out, I think will make it easier next time. Personally.
Yeah.
Because I realized all the issues were caused. But I think we're sorry to keep tangenting.
No, you could, bro.
I think we're at a good time.
Well, how long we going?
About 50 minutes.
I think that's a great time.
It's a perfect time.
I love this podcast. This is
Me fucking too, dude. I appreciate the listeners as well. Just
appreciate y'all so much. And yo, we are so by the time this comes out, our second pod will already be out. But I just want to thank you for how much support we're getting on both the last two podcasts we fucking put out. It's so great. You know what I'm saying? We love everything, you know. And even though like we're not at the top level right now, we are seeing people that are liking our
Dude,
input. You know what I'm saying?
I think I saw like 9 likes or something. I don't think I've been more stoked to think about like 9 people in a room watching the video. So I don't know. It's like the little things, and I don't know. I can really relate to that, bro. Like 100 views. Honestly, I was ecstatic. It was just like fucking.
The way I look at that is that's 900 away from 1,000.
Come on, son. That's not even that far.
It's not that far.
Not even that far.
It's only 10%. You guys.
Well, I think
big 10%.
Yeah. Yeah. What is that? What is that, dude? That's like a fucking low F. Whatever. You can come back from that.
So I think we're gonna close this out. Yo, great podcast. Yo, let us know
For real.
what you guys want us to compare and contrast. You know what I'm saying? In the comments. You know what I'm saying? Like, subscribe. You know what I'm saying? If you're gonna be here, you know, follow us on Instagram too, because we always promote the podcast on there and tell us that tell y'all our steps that are coming up. You know what I'm saying, in the future. So yeah, I think that's it, right, Willis?
Yeah, I got something for him real quick. From roses to apples, we go round the way.
Oh yeah.
From roses to apples, titties in my face.
Yeah. Okay, close this shit up.
Thanks, guys.